I'm Dave Watt. I'm the founder of the Mr. Friendly campaign from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Well, I've been working in years in HIV. So I'm a retired middle school math teacher, and so I would always volunteer in HIV. Being 54 years old, born in 63, graduated high school in 81. I lost a lot of my friends. So I've just always been passionate about it, about HIV. My dad was a doctor, so I was always around the hospital, and HIV seemed to always just be a diagnosis, not that fear-based thing. It was something too scary. It was just never scary to me. So I could be the one guy that could actually visit people sometimes. I was the only person that would visit people.
Wow.
So that always just had a really powerful impact on me.
Yeah.
That there's so much there, but there was a lot of misinformation going around in the 80s,
Absolutely. I come from Australia, and the first campaign that we had was the bowling ball campaign, and it was absolutely fear-based.
Right.
If you don't follow our rules, then you're fucked.
Right.
Is basically what they were saying.
And your life is over. Right.
Yeah. Right. And we know that's not true. Those are the bad old days that are past. But I think emotionally, a lot of people still carry that fear. I'm a doctor, and I understand what it's like, that I have people who want to get tested, everything except HIV, because HIV is too scary.
It's too scary to handle it.
To be tested for.
And I still like my current job is I'm a HIV counselor tester. So I mean I still come across people like, I'm not ready to get tested. I probably know I'm living with HIV, but I'm not ready to deal with it yet. And I still meet people like that, and I try to have a lot of empathy for that.
Yeah. So how does Mr. Friendly come in? How does it?
So for me, then how do I want to help people? So I used to be the condom guy.
Okay.
I would go around and I would pass out condoms at events, and I was volunteering doing this all the time. And but then it was to me the wrong way to start a conversation. Here, have a condom. It was what I didn't know at the time was just how judgmental that was to walk around and push condoms onto people. That is not the way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
So I would still hear all my friends talking about HIV in ways that I thought was very unhealthy as a society. That's just the social norm of, he's HIV positive, you don't want him, and or he's neg, go date, you want him instead. That serial sorting in the dating world was just really ugly to me. And I didn't really think, people I loved and cared about were saying really awful things that had no basis in science whatsoever. So I wanted to create a conversation starter that said, hey, I'm pos friendly. Positive, negative, I don't care what your status is, I want you to be able to talk to me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the symbol came from, was, I wanted to put a plus and a minus on a smiling face.
Yep.
So I sketched it, and my husband is a graphic designer. I feel very blessed,
Yeah, that's great.
He designs for Kellogg's.
Oh, wow.
So he does Pop-Tarts and cereal boxes and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So he's really good. So we have that.
But it's
good value.
It's a beautifully simple icon that I think portrays a very sophisticated way of being able to say, this is something that's open to conversation.
And starting with a smile. Then I realized, having worked in HIV, all the messaging that I had been saying, stuff like, know your status, wrap it before you tap it, get tested, all those didn't fit a smiling face. So I had to rethink everything in terms of what do I say based on a smiling face? What would the poster say with smiling people in it?
Yeah.
So I had to relearn everything. And it took years to come up with, live stigma free of HIV. It took I didn't launch the campaign with that.
Yeah.
I launched the campaign in September 2008. when I ran for Mr. Michigan Leather, and I gave a speech about clean, DDF, UB2, and how stigmatizing those common phrases are, and that we just need to be here for each other like the leather community is. And I I handmade a couple hundred buttons. Like I cut out the circles and got out the button maker and printed it, and then handed out the buttons to kind of commemorate the speech. And I designed it with like the leather pride colors in mind, just because leather community likes buttons. And,
you guys love your pins.
We do love our pins. So the people ate it up, and then I spent that year like watching TV and making buttons and passing them out, and then having a ton of conversations with people. And then I really learned a lot from the community. Like the leather community has amazing mentors, and so somebody else actually came up with live stigma free of HIV, and I was like, that does fit this. So that's been our slogan.
So when you were having conversations with people, what sort of feedback were you getting? What are people like? I work within the sector, so I'm very used to talking with people who are living with HIV. But outside of that bubble, what's it like for people who are living with HIV? What is the level of stigma that people are being subjected to?
I think people focus, like in my job and what grants we had available at the time, it was all about knowing your status and getting tested, and let's bring testing to the community, and let's test everybody so that people could know their status. And to me, I think that's actually really stigmatizing to be so heavy on know your status. Like if I start a conversation with people, know your status. Hey, we got free HIV testing at the bar. I've just left out everybody who's positive at that bar. And when I say know your status, and that can actually induce fear into somebody who's negative. I'm not ready to know my status. Or I've actually people, if you're living with HIV, they would respond with like, I know my status already, and then put a hand in front of my face. So I'm like, so I take a lesson from the symbol, and like I need to redo my message to fit this.
I had a situation where a friend who was well-meaning was talking about the genetic test for, there's a genetic defect where people, it's difficult for them to become infected with HIV because of a particular gene.
Sure, like survivors of the bubonic plague, family history, that kind of thing.
That thing. And so we were sitting in a pool, and this guy goes, I reckon I should just start selling that test, and then people would they'd know. And he turned around to my friend beside me and goes, how much would you pay for a test like that? And the guy goes, I don't know, $20. And I thought, you are an absolute fuckwit, because I already knew he was living with HIV. And it's like, that's the most fucked up question to ask, because he already knows what the answer to that test is going to be. And it's like, well, you should spend $20 maybe on learning to be vaguely pleasant.
Have some empathy that you might not know the other person's status when you're having that conversation.
Don't assume that everything's, And it used to be that there's so much old stigma, like a fat queen's a healthy queen, and all of those sort of things. So it's a different world now. We're living in a world where we know that successful treatment for HIV, a non-detectable viral load, is absolutely not transmittable. U
equals U. Undetectable is untransmittable. It's undeniably awesome.
But ultimately, for me, like there's the science and there's the emotion, right? That scientifically, I can tell people that undetectable viral load cannot be transmitted. And they will nod and they will look at me and they go, yes, I understand that. But when the rubber hits the road, they will still go, yeah, I've got a headache.
Right.
So it's that gap, right? This is where I think the stigma lives. It's inside that gap.
Sure.
Tell me how Mr. Friendly is working at chipping away that gap.
I mean, we all experience stigma in a variety of ways. So for me, like what your head knows doesn't always match what your heart says. So for me, it's just encouraging people to have a really healthy conversation around HIV, that let's bring it up. And I think the more people see a symbol, or the more people are having that conversation, and the more people are meeting other people that are able to share their status, I think that is going to just, as a society, we can change that social norm and have their heart match what their head understands.
Yeah, that's good. What impact has your campaign had on the community?
Well, I've been blessed with many mentors along the way. So what I think the big aha moment for me was meeting somebody who is a specialist in marketing, and was like, Dave, all of your events have to have smiling people in the posters. So he said, whatever title you come up with, whatever event you do, you have to think smiling people. So based on that, we came up with a really fun events idea to raise awareness about HIV. And every time we have to come up with a theme, it's really super important. A core value of the campaign is that it has to be to reach everybody. It can't be a testing campaign. It can't be a condom campaign. It can't be a know your status. It has to be a campaign to fight stigma and to raise awareness and create opportunities to have one friendly conversation at a time for our trained volunteers. So I came up with this model. And other people were like, I really like what you do. I want to do that in my city. So I got together with my buddy Mark Eddy, who's super smart. He's like a Dale Carnegie trained instructor, train the trainer guy. He's up there. And he and I wrote a curriculum together on how to put a team together. And what those teams can do, how to have, use motivational interviewing techniques to train people on how to have the art of the conversation. To meet people where they're at, to build empathy for people in any situation, and how to always respond in a friendly way. So if somebody says the most stigmatizing thing, the natural tendency is to attack them and say, like, don't be an ass, quit fucking saying clean, but you get a much better response when you respond in a friendly way.
How do you determine if somebody's clean? Because
asking an open-ended question is a great way, but that's a very non-judgmental, open-ended question.
Yes, considering everything else that was going through my mind at the time, that was the best I could come up with. So was it...
My formula is like, support, progress. Like, first try to find something supportive in there to build some type of rapport, and then you progress from there. So maybe even before asking that question, I would say something supportive, just like, hey, sounds like you're being thoughtful about status and about your own health. Kudos. What determines how do you zero sort, so I always try to make it friendly. And sometimes I have to dig deep.
I can imagine. And you've used a lot of fun iconography that is connecting to multiple communities. I've seen your pup stuff. I've seen
Friendly Pup. I got Friendly Pup here.
Oh, look at it!
There's a puppy dog. You pretty pup.
Oh, and what a great way to sort of engage with people is there's something simple like that. But even your shirts, you've got boot worship.
Oh, I brought a Friendly Pup T-shirt. This was one of the first, and this was a huge collective effort. This was done by a team out of Atlanta, and they came up with the idea of a Friendly Pup shirt. So I just thought it was great, and then we came up with ideas to come along with the idea. Friendly Pup has its own sayings, like unconditional love. Like, puppies have unconditional love. Aww. Puppies don't care what your status is. And then people of any status really relate to that. If somebody living with HIV, and so many times I hear that people who are living with HIV have a dog, and I want to come home to that pet. Because that dog doesn't care what my status is. It's going to love me no matter what. And
for some people, it's that puppy that keeps them alive. It gives them a drive and a rhythm to their day. If they're not working, or if they're feeling really crook, and there's nothing better than having somebody there who's like.
And for those who don't necessarily put their health first, so sometimes I've had the conversation go to, your dog loves you. Take care of your health so that you can be there for your dog for years to come. And that's kind of helped people think about, I need to think about my health because I'm here for other people. You know, just the value of your own life.
Yeah, yeah. And other things like I see you've got
this was
the
another
Golden
one.
Girls.
This was from Team Friendly New Orleans. Came up with this one. Like,
yeah,
you know, thank you for being a friend, and we've got the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
I just met so many people who are a fan of the Golden Girls, and I think that show is still relevant today.
Absolutely, it was one of the groundbreakers, wasn't it?
Around HIV, they opened the episode where Rose was unsure about her status, and the way they talked about it was so on point, and so just. Like so much what we are as a community is like we need to be there for each other under all circumstances, and the no judgment for Blanche that they had on that show was so cutting edge. You know, it was just, I don't know. So many people love that shirt because they watch Golden Girls every day.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think that's a really good point, and I really love what you've done, and I think when I wear my Friendly Pup shirt out and about, then to me that's like, a lot of people ask me about it, and I'm able to say, well, you know, it's this really good campaign that's based out of America, and you know, this is what I think it's doing, and it's opening conversations, and that's the most important thing.
It's a conversation starter that starts with a smile.
Yeah.
And like so many conversations wouldn't happen unless I was wearing a dog tag or a shirt or something like that.
Yeah. So I really appreciate we're here at Claw. It's been a super, super busy weekend for everybody, including yourself. I could talk for hours, but you know, you're a busy man. Is there any salient things that you'd like people to know about the Mr. Friendly campaign, and you know, how they can help or how they can become involved?
Oh, I mean, I help people train teams, you know, so if there's like a group of people who's like, hey, you know what, I want to make a difference in my community, we do this all for free. Like, thank you, Claw. Claw's given us a grant, so if there's like a new team of people that want to start something, I ship stuff for free. Like, here's banners and posters and dog tags and buttons and t-shirts for your whole team, and here, start it. Here's a training, we do it online. And here's how you can make a difference in your community. Talk as a team about how stigma is affecting your community, because it's different, you know, in different cities and different communities. So what that team can do, and then just help support that team, and they could put their own events together. Yeah. That's cool.
So if somebody wanted to talk with you or one of your team, how's the best way for them to find you, to contact you?
There's like, you know, if you look on, we're very Facebook heavy, like a team friendly, fill in the blank, what cities. So if you type in team friendly, a bunch of different cities come up. There's some teams who do events like once or twice a month, and then there's other two a couple times a year, you know, so the teams kind of do it on their own time. But it's easy to contact me, to find me online too. Just hit me up. And then we can kind of Dave Watt on Facebook, or the Mr. Friendly on Facebook. I answer the messages there. We're on Twitter and Instagram too.
That's really good.
And the website, mrfriendly.org.
And if people wanted to buy a t-shirt, I believe you've got an online store.
mrfriendly.org has got a store there, and I ship everywhere.
You sure do.
I do.
I receive shirts into Australia, and I'm a very happy supporter of your campaign. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Oh, thanks.
I suppose, just as wrapping it up, if that's all right.
Sure.
If you were to offer people one or two big impact things that you could do to help reduce stigma within our community, what would you say they are?
Empathy. That instead of like attacking somebody for, you know, if you perceive somebody else being stigmatizing, or like not wanting to get a test, or I'm not treating it, like just understand why. Be there for them, you know. Thank you for being a friend, you know. Be a golden girl in their life, where you have empathy for where they're at, and you really listen to their story, and help them in their journey. Like, help remove barriers to you know, treatment for HIV. Help remove barriers to deciding to whether or not to go on PrEP. Help them along their path.
That sounds amazing. I really appreciate your time. This has been 1 year coming, this interview, and I'm so excited to finally be able to
like
talk
hang
with you.
out and see each other. Thank you, Claw, for this opportunity to bring people together from all around the world.
Absolutely, and yeah, a huge. Bob Miller, I think, is doing amazing things, and I'm very appreciative for this weekend, for this opportunity. So thank you very much, Dave.
Sure. Thank you, George.
Yeah.